Good evening to those in the boardroom and those who are watching us virtually. Welcome to the Board of Education regular board meeting, Tuesday, December 10th. Are there any requests to speak for closed session items? Hearing none, so we will adjourn to closed session and return to regular session after that. Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to all who is in the boardroom and those who may be listening to us by virtual. Welcome to the Santa Barbara Unified School Board meeting, December 10th, 2024. We have language access. Thank you.
Thank you. We have interpretation, Spanish interpretation and ASL interpretation over Zoom. Muy buenas tardes. Tenemos interpretación al español disponible por si alguien gusta escuchar la reunión en español. Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you. Dr. Maldonado, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand and face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We had one announcement, one action that was taken in closed session. The board voted 5-0 in closed session to reject the liability claim on behalf of a student by his mother, KM. The board voted 5-0 to reject that claim. Now we'll next move to our student board member report. Eric, welcome.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. It's been an incredibly busy past couple of weeks. We are in our final week before we head into winter break. We've been having many holiday spirit week activities for our students, including pajama day, ugly sweater day, an elf scavenger hunt with rewards, gift wrapping activities, and book giveaways, as well as drives to give back to the community, such as blood drives, canned food drives, and toy drives. We had our ASB tri-school meeting where we discussed and shared ideas on how we can improve student safety, inclusivity, and student engagement, exploring the importance of clubs and how we can better support these clubs, improving communication with students, and hosting inclusive events. One example that I'd like to highlight is the San Marcos World Culture Day, which gave students the opportunity to teach and learn about different cultures, contributing to a safer and more inclusive school environment. Tomorrow, there will be a Santa Barbara High School Black Student Union. Tomorrow, the Santa Barbara High School Black Student Union is hosting an event at the senior lawn from 4 to 6. Where we can come together as a community and build relationships. The event will feature food and movies, games, and much more. I'll be there to attend, and I believe that events like these are a great way to build relationships and combat anti-Black language and discriminatory acts, to join our bigger goal to have a zero-tolerance environment when it comes to discrimination. We recently had our Superintendent Student Advisory Council, where we continued our efforts to push mental health resources to our students through an informational video that we filmed in collaboration with the MAD Academy at Santa Barbara High School. This will help eliminate mental health stigmas and normalize looking for help. Our next meeting will be held at Dos Pueblos High School. And I also want to recognize a last year project that the council worked on was suicide awareness signs that will be put up near San Marcos High Schools. You can see on the top left of the screen the design of the signs, and on the bottom right of the screen you can kind of see where we will put up the signs and where you can be found, or where they will be found. I'm so glad to be able to see the work that us as students and the council are accomplishing to remind those who need the support that the community is here to help them. Next slide, please. Also want to congratulate the Santa Barbara High School girls tennis team for becoming CIF Division III champions. Congratulations to them for their incredible achievement. Lastly, I had the amazing privilege to attend the California School Boards Association Annual Education Conference. It was an amazing experience. I learned so much about what it means to be a student board member and what I can do to build better relationships with the junior highs and elementary sites in our district. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric, for that report, and congratulations to our women's girls tennis. Awesome. I'm an awesome tennis fan, so I'm congratulating them. So next we will move to the superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Today, I'm excited to bring you a presentation by 3 San Marcos High School students in the advanced painting class. As you can see to my left, This artwork you'll see, will be hanging up here in the boardroom in the future. Their teacher, Katie Garibay, is not able to attend tonight, but here to present on behalf of her is our arts teacher on special assignment, Shannon Jaffe. Hope I pronounced your last name correct, to tell us more about these students and their work. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening to all. My name is Shannon Jaffe, and I'm the District Arts TOSA. Tonight, we have three very special guests joining us and presenting their artwork. These art students are from San Marcos High School's advanced painting class. First, we have Ramiro Gutierrez Carachure. Ramiro, come on up and tell us about your artwork.
Hello. Good night, everyone. Oh, good evening. My name is Ramiro Gutierrez Carachure. I'm in the advanced painting class of San Marcos High School. And my inspiration for this painting, it's because of a required crop portrait that we had to do with oil paints. It was either some famous person or a family member, so that's what I wanted to do. And I knew that if it was like a family member, like for example, this is my little sister who I painted, then I knew it, like I'd be more motivated to paint it. So yeah, I've in San Marcos, I learned a lot about basically value in a painting to make it like bring it to life. I also learned like how to like get better proportions. This is my first time. It's probably my first painting I've ever finished with oil paints. I'm not a big fan of oil paints. They last too takes too long to dry. But yeah, it was pretty fun. I learned I've been into art since elementary school. I went to Washington Elementary School. There, I basically picked up painting since kindergarten, and following that into middle school at Santa Barbara Junior High. I didn't take a painting class though. My other elective was taking Avid. But starting at San Marcos, I started picking up painting a little better after the quarantine, just because I found it really relaxing. Also, I previously worked on a mural with a very known artist, Michael Matheson. We all decided on like what would be a good like paint or something to good to paint on the mural at the San Marcos school. So it took we did it over the summer, which was pretty fun. It was really hot, but it was worth it. I was tanned so many times though. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ramiro. Thank you. Our second guest is Daniela Ramirez. She's a senior at San Marcos High School. Daniela, welcome.
Hi, my name is Daniela Ramirez, and I'm here to talk about my painting and journey with art. My inspiration for my painting was myself, obviously. And I decided to do myself is because I wanted to prove myself that I could actually paint myself, and I pretty much look at my face every day, so like so I really know like the details, but I wanted to challenge myself also because I'm submitting this portrait to the accepting imperfections, and the reason I also decided to do myself because I have to learn to accept myself. And this painting is actually me without any makeup, and I actually used to struggle a lot with that because I used to like not be able to go out without it. So this painting is also a representation of my self-esteem. This painting is actually made with oil paintings, and I'm a big fan of oil paints because they might smell bad and stuff, but they're like really easy to blend with. So I really like that. But this painting took about like 3 months, so it took a while to do. And this is actually not the background. It was like the bus stop, but I decided to add clouds. And my journey with art, I would like to really thank Miss Garibay because she's a really good teacher and she's taught me everything I need to know about art. But I've been taking art classes since I was in kindergarten. My parents have always like encouraged me to do art all the time. And I've taken freehand drawing, color design, painting one, advanced painting, advanced color and design, and advanced freehand drawing. And I used to also have a teacher named Miss Kalasa. She would also encourage me a lot, but she's retired, but she's really sweet. And yeah, I would like to thank them. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Daniela. And finally, please welcome Adeline Evangelista, a junior at San Marcos High School.
My name is Adeline Evangelista. I'm 11th grade student at San Marcos High School. I take advanced painting with Maria and Daniela. The inspiration for my art piece is my great grandma because she's one of the most important people in my life, family. I used oil paints to paint it because I like how it's easy to blend and it doesn't dry up as quick. And it also took me about 3 months to finish. I've taken multiple art classes in San Marcos, and I've taken art classes in Lacumba Junior High and McKinley Elementary. I want to thank Ms. Garibay and Ms. Kalasa because they helped me learn more of the art and different techniques and art styles that made this painting come true.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jaffe. This has been a dream of ours for several years now. As you can see, we have an incredible wall around our boardroom that could be an art gallery. And the dream is to really rotate art through this boardroom, to have students share with us your journey. I really admire your incredible talents. The three of you just represented so well, and I can't wait to say we discovered you when you're world famous, because this is an beautiful, incredible talent. And of course, thank you to your teachers who have also done an incredible job from elementary to junior high to high school, as you have stated, to help you really thrive as an artist. Thank you so much. Next, board members, today is Human Rights Day, which commemorates the anniversary of one of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This landmark document enshrines the inalienable rights that everyone is entitled to as a human being, regardless of race, color, religion, sex, language, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. Fittingly, in a few minutes, we're going to be bringing forward a resolution today, along with Santa Barbara Teachers Association and the California School Employees Association, to show support for our immigrant and LGBTQ plus families. Santa Barbara Unified believes strongly in the rights of all people, and especially human rights, and giving every child every chance every day. I'm going to move forward. We will come back to the resolution at 6:30 because we announced it as a time certain. I want to thank Kim Hernandez, who participated in the Coastal Housing Coalition Conference that took place while we were at the California School Boards Association. She shared with me that it was encouraging to hear the keynote speaker, Shane Phillips, a researcher at UCLA who studies urban housing. He seemed to be in line with what Santa Barbara Unified is doing about workforce housing. He noted that Santa Barbara is a place where people want to live, but past low growth policies have created a city that only provides 2 living units per 1,000 people. Providing new homes can help stabilize the housing problem as residents in the community move to the new homes and free up older homes for those who cannot afford what's currently available. By building more housing becomes more affordable, which helps to keep the residents in the community. If we don't do that, residents will have to commute, which increases pollution and reduces the tax base for our city. So I want to thank him for your notes and for representing Santa Barbara Unified. And I'm glad that our district has moved in that direction. I'm very proud of all the work that's been done in that space. I also, along with Board Vice President Escobedo, had the opportunity to travel to Sacramento, where we had the chance to really share all the great work our district is doing with cell phone policies, with not only the governor and the first partner, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, but we were chosen to speak because Santa Barbara Unified is leading the way in California by creating cell phone policies that work. I want everyone to know that we could not have done this or shared this work without the opportunity to collaborate with Santa Barbara Teachers Association, with many parents who also are experts in our community, in school psychologists and others, parallel work going on around the use of technology in our K-3 spaces. If you recall that coming out of the pandemic, when we created the Tech Equity Committee and we merged both groups together to really develop a robust cell phone policy. And it has taken us a couple years to really have everyone get on board. But I will say that we are ahead of many school districts in California. And I want to thank everyone who's been a part of that with us. We did have other people in the meeting, folks from the medical community, legislators, CTA, CFT, and other really people who really care about this issue. And we know that we're teaching 21st century learners and that we need to make sure that their focus is in school, in learning zones with their teachers as a first priority. So thank you to everyone for that. And thank you to Vice President Escobedo for joining me. This is not only the area that we're leading in, but district has led in many areas. We've led around the ethnic studies into 2018 and anti-racism and protecting students and families that we serve. And we know that we haven't historically done a great job with some of that work, but I know that we have made great strides and I'm very proud. And I want to thank again everyone who's made this happen. I know that we have talked a lot about early literacy in this boardroom, and I want to share with you that the Universal Screener Committee met recently. The California Department of Education is providing guidance with regards to what districts should adopt based on the information provided by the Reading Difficulties Risk Screener Selection Panel. The state plans to release the approved list by December 31st of this school year in 2024, and all California districts are expected to implement this screener. Currently, Santa Barbara Unified has screeners in place for reading and math. We use STAR for reading and math. In addition, we use DIBELS and basic phonics skills tests for reading in grades TK through 6. Although the state is providing guidance only for K2, our goal at Santa Barbara Unified is to select a screener for TK6 in reading and math. The work began in February 2024 when the initial guidance was shared by the State Board and the Santa Barbara County Education Office. As a result of this information, we have developed a timeline that you'll see in a minute, and we created 2 committees, an Executive Universal Screener Committee and an Advisory Universal Screener Committee, which you can see on the screen there, and all the people that are involved in putting that together. As a result, we will be bringing the board a recommendation, hopefully by the April 2025 board meeting, and we must adopt this screener for the 25-26 school year. One of the recommendations at the last meeting that the advisory committee made was to not call it a reading difficulties, but rather a reading differences screener. And that's all still up for conversation, but I did want to share that with the board because we really want to have a more positive approach to what students may be experiencing when it comes to learning to read. New employee, next slide. We had as you know, we hire people all the time. And as we do that, we are now starting to host new employee orientations for our board, for our new employees. Excuse me, I'm having trouble reading. Let me start again. We recently hosted a new employee orientation for a group of 9 classified employees who have joined our Santa Barbara Unified staff. Some of the topics that were covered were payroll protocols, technology best practices, and how to report incidents such as discrimination. We really want to make sure that we onboard people appropriately, and we want to make sure that we continuously meet with them as they become part of our school district. How many of you have heard of Shark Tank? Shark Tank might want to do some recruiting at San Marcos. The school's Entrepreneurship Academy was recently bestowed the prestigious 2024 Spirit of Entrepreneurship Award from the Women's Economic Ventures at a ceremony hosted at the high school. The recognition includes a $5,000 grant, which will be used to fund all the innovative enterprise ideas that these brilliant young students have dreamed of. The Academy, which is led by their teacher, Graham Olson, offers students business courses that teach life skills such as public speaking and collaboration. We are so incredibly proud of these students for leaning into new ideas and creating the future they see for themselves. And I will say that I did speak to some of these students at the showcase, the high school showcase, and they are cutting edge. They're really bright students that are really thinking out of the box, and I think we should definitely celebrate them. Monroe Elementary Schools recently hosted an event with a nonprofit called Shoes That Fit. The students of Monroe had a Cinderella moment recently thanks to the generosity of the nonprofit Shoes That Fit. Their recently hired family engagement liaison did all the coordinating and basically figured out the shoe size for every single student. They all got a brand new pair of athletic shoes. Some of them had their feet grow, so we're going to be making sure we get a bigger size because that happens with students that age. But we're really grateful to this organization. Again, a pair of athletic shoes to every single student in Monroe. It really is going to enhance not only their holiday season, but of course, who doesn't feel good in a brand new pair of shoes? And I did hear from Mr. Principal Naughton that the staff is also very grateful for this donation, and we are all thankful to Shoes That Fit. A couple weeks before that, or maybe a week before that, a few of us had a chance to attend the San Marcos World Culture Day. This first time inaugural World Culture Day at San Marcos, board member Dr. Beal and Escobedo attended along with myself. And basically this was something that was organized by, let me look up my titles here. The Commissioner of Intercultural Relations, Yara Martinez. She and her team, Fatima Arias, Emily Hernandez, along with their president, who's on this picture here, Kian, the ASB president, organized over 70 students and staff who brought food from so many different places around the world. And I think Dr. Bill and Mr. Escobedo would agree that the food was amazing. And we're really grateful for them for organizing so many people to do this. I do want to finish up with another great visit, another great partner in our community, Cottage Hospital. Santa Barbara Unified Peak students had a great time visiting the hospital. Myself, John Clark from the Bowers Foundation joined the students. And this is a first-time pilot program. Cottage Hospital staff shared with students the over 55 plus healthcare jobs that are available at the hospital. And they gave them a chance there was about 32 students, gave them a chance to go through a rotation of stations. And you can see from the pictures here, so that they can learn about these different jobs that are available to them. All 4 departments had students who were eager to learn more and continue to explore careers for their future, from surgical services to nutrition services, therapy services to clinical laboratory. And it sounds like we found something of interest for almost everyone that came to that event. This was coordinated by Albert Martinez, who's working with College Health Workforce Coordinator Angeli Mancuso. If you know her, please thank her. She's a gem at Cottage Hospital, and she helped to schedule this field trip. She does so many things to really get our students engaged. So once again, we're grateful to Cottage Health, the Peak Foundation, for this opportunity. And we hope to do more of these kinds of school visits with students so that they can see so many of the career pathways in our community. And I want to end with, obviously, we all know that we just had a small celebration for Wendy Sims Moulton. This is the last meeting she will be presiding over as board president. And in recognition of your 8 years of service as a board member, acknowledgement of your exceptional leadership and dedication, which have guided our team to new heights. Your legacy will continue to inspire us for years to come. Thank you, Wendy, for your 8 years of service to our students and staff. Please join me in thanking our president. This concludes my report.
Right. Thank you for that superintendent report, and all that have with the celebrate now. Just looking at the generosity of this community in so many different ways, that helps us continue to support our students in their direction as they're moving their journeys into their next journey of their lives. So I really appreciate that. I want to say I really like that shoes that fit. Right. I really appreciate that, and how important it is to students to be able to have that. So thank you. And for the artists who presented this wonderful art that's here, thank you and congratulations to this work that you have done here. It's beautiful art there. So we're right on time actually for our time certain adoption of our resolution. So you okay?
So I am going to ask Mr. York Shingle and Ken Rivas to come to the podium, please. Board members, as stated earlier, in line with Human Rights Day, our goal for this resolution is that it results in an improved school experience by all students, staff, and families by modeling a system that shows mutual respect, honors different perspectives, and values the individual humanity of each member of our school district. We aim to show support for our students and families and their diverse identities with timely intention today. We elevate the needs of migrants and LGBTQ plus students and families. We will not tolerate harmful language, teasing, or otherwise discriminatory behavior towards any student for any reason. Our diversity and experiences of students and staff make Santa Barbara Unified so special, and we want to make sure that each person is seen, valued, and heard. With that, I want to thank York Shingle from Santa Barbara Teachers Association for helping us write this resolution, and also Mr. Ken Rivas for contributing to the writing of this resolution.
So I get the honor of starting this off. And also, when I was elected to the board in 2016, this was a resolution also that we drafted. And so to have it reaffirmed, the fact that we have to hit reaffirm is a message as well. But the fact that we have come together and the work that we're doing here in Santa Barbara Unified also affirms what it actually means. So to have it in a resolution and be it resolved, this is how we want to treat each other respectfully here in Santa Barbara Unified. Whereas Santa Barbara Unified School District Board of Education believes that the dignity, inclusion, and respect of all children and families in our district is critical to students being able to achieve and thrive. In response to community concerns, the board seeks to reaffirm its commitment to resolution number 2016-2017-22 in support of all students, and resolution number 2022-23-21, the respectful treatment of all persons. And
whereas the district believes in the humanity of all persons above the national rhetoric that is currently prevailing in our country and causing fear that harms our migrant families and LGBTQ plus families. And furthermore, the district stands for the professional responsibility for the safety and care of all children entrusted to us by our families and community. And
whereas state law guarantees all children in California the right to a free K-12 public education, Santa Barbara Unified School District aims to provide safe and welcoming spaces for students and families regardless of race, color, ethnicity, national origin, immigration status, ancestry, language, disability status, gender expression or identity, sexual orientation, religion, marital status, and ability. And
whereas our ongoing commitment to our community's children is that schools are a place where words and actions uplift and value the identity and experiences of all children and do not cause harm. A place where each day provides them the opportunity to work with other students and adults so that each one of them can continue to mature and develop into outstanding leaders and contributors to the community. A place where they are cared for by adults and peers who listen to their needs, understand who they are, and support who they want to become. And
Whereas, as a school district community, we stand together and continually work to create a positive culture where every person is respected and valued, an environment where rich dialogue is encouraged amongst our students, families, and staff, and in which the discourse does not cause harm, but instead leads to actions that address harmful language and actions and its impacts. Our commitment to all of our students and our students can depend on district staff to model and maintain an environment where they can flourish. And
Whereas as a board, we invite parents, neighbors, elected officials, nonprofit partners, and those committed to supporting our community's children as we continue to work collaboratively to align our resources to support with legal, social, and educational opportunities.
Therefore, let it be resolved that as a school district, we reaffirm our promise to welcome and support students and families from all backgrounds, and will protect the confidentiality of information we have about our students and families, and will keep immigration authorities off our campuses to the fullest extent provided by law.
Resolved further that the district will partner with local organizations that serve undocumented students and families for information sessions, resources, advocacy, and other relevant professional services.
Resolve further that SB Unified will ensure that inclusion of LGBTQ plus representation in the curriculum, ally, gender, sexuality alliance clubs, and the secondary level provide resources for students and families and training for staff on gender inclusivity and available community resources.
Resolved further that all students and staff will be held accountable to district policy for harmful language and actions against any and all protected classes without exception. Do you want to adopt it, or we will have to adopt it in action? Yeah, we'll take the vote. So thank you so much for that. So now we need to call for a motion to adopt this resolution.
I move, once I find it. I motion to adopt resolution number 2024-25-18 in support of students and families in the Santa Barbara Unified School District.
Second.
In motion and second, all in favor, please raise your hands and say aye.
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 Thank you so
Can I-
much on that. But do we have public comment on this? I just want to make sure.
Do we have any public comment?
Okay, do you have that?
I don't have it.
Yeah. Okay. So no request
No
to speak.
public comment.
Okay,
Um,
but you had something you wanted to say?
I just wanted to thank both CSEA and SBTA and Dr. Maldonado for bringing this forward. I think for me personally, and I think many of us, it kind of feels like hope and decency died on November 5th, but I don't think it did. And I don't think our responsibility to protect our students, families, and staff did either. So resolutions like this are really important as a statement of values and intentions, but it needs to be paired with action and how we show up for our students, families, and staff. And so I just want to thank you all. I think this show of unity is really important at this time, in a time of uncertainty, in a time of rhetoric that is singling out our most historically underserved populations. And I think it's really important for us to come together as union partners, union leadership, district leadership, and as a board. And so I just want to say thank you.
Board members, any additional question before Ms. Munoz?
Yes, certainly I'm thankful for this resolution. I know that as an activist, for immigrant rights, certainly for years since I was a child, I feel very strongly that we're going to make it, that we're going to be able to be there to advocate for our students and have them be in a safe place. And also as an ally to LGBTQ plus students, that no matter what, we are going to stand together. We are going to make it. There's so many things that we have been able to get through as a community. It's very upsetting to me. I know at lunchtime today at home, my daughter was saying, oh my God, January, but 4 years, et cetera. And I said, you know what? it's going to be all right. We are going to hang together. And my husband also reassured her that we're going to get through this time. I have, try to say it real quick. Memories of my uncle having, as a child, having ICE come to our house and yank him out of our home. As you know, my brother and I were probably 5 and 7. And I have families that, when they used to do ICE raids here not too long ago, were calling me from being on the city bus, not wanting to get out of the bus and trying to figure out how they're going to pick up their children. Well, I am saying we're going to stay strong and we're going to advocate for our students and keep them safe so they can focus on their education.
Thank you. We don't have any requests to speak, but so we've already been motioned and seconded. All in favor, please raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. Now we can clap about it, right? I know it's like an anticlimactic because business sometimes gets in the way, but thank you for that. And we continue to look at that, and it just becomes a part of who we are in our action, words, and deeds with regards to how we're going to work at Santa Barbara Unified. So I will move us back now to public comment. Mr. Escobedo.
All right, we have some public commenters for items that are not on today's agenda. You will have 3 minutes. There is a clock to the right just above the door. There's also a light system. When it turns yellow, that means you have 30 seconds left. I'm going to queue up the first 3 speakers. Please be ready to speak. First up, we have Maggie Light, followed up by Rich Lashua, followed up by Kate Lambert. Welcome.
The push button is what I press?
Yes,
Thank you.
there should be a green light when it's on.
Thank you.
No,
Now it is.
now it is.
Okay. First, I recommend reading Marianne Wolf's book, Proust and the Squid, The Science and Story of the Reading Brain. She is the UCLA professor in residence of education and the director of the UCLA Center for Dyslexia, Diverse Learners, and Social Justice. Our brains are not wired to read. Thousands of years ago, humans, through the capacity of neuroplasticity, triggered connections in the human brain that created alphabets, words, sentences, and ideas. But these connections are not a birthright. Each child born must be taught to read. What took 2,000 years for humans to develop the cognitive breakthroughs necessary to learn reading, we ask children to accomplish in 2,000 days. The leaders of this school district must immerse themselves in an understanding of the full spectrum of literacy, and especially the difference between the development of a brain that reads print versus digital text. Marianne Wolf writes, "The digital medium enhances the speed in which we're reading and focusing. But being engaged at this level takes away from the ability to use the full brain circuitry, which includes using background knowledge to infer, to deduce the truth value, to feel what the author is feeling in a work of fiction, to understand a completely different perspective. Using the full brain circuitry takes time. Literacy is not merely decoding, it's the ability to read beyond the text." Marianne Wolf asserts that, quote, "Much of how we think and what we think about is based on insights and associations generated from what we read. Improving literacy requires more than a piecemeal approach. We have to change the culture. Do digital literacy programs like Lexia build the full spectrum of literacy? Lexia is a closed system. There is no transparency in the learning process. Teachers do not know the text students are reading. There is no group dynamics, and measurements are made by Lexia. We also altered the high school schedule to allow for more electives and credit recovery, but the district now offers Edgenuity, an online program to make up credits. Have we forgotten the lessons from COVID connecting learning loss to the absence of face-to-face learning? The literacy crisis in our district is more than just a roof with a few leaks, and patching it with online learning programs isn't fixing the problem. We need a new roof. And the leaders of this district must have a broad vision and a depth of knowledge about literacy to realize and implement real change, to do something that will make concrete differences in the lives of our students and the community, not oversell programs used primarily for the purpose of data collecting. It's time to do your homework. And by the way, I left you some reading material.
Thank you. Next up, we have Rich Lashua, followed up by Kate Lambert, followed up by Carolina Bate. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Arts programs at many sites, especially secondary schools, are in danger of dying out for lack of enrollment. Perhaps the district could lower caps on intra-district transfer requests. One junior high school with around 900 kids doesn't balance its two neighbors hovering near 500 each. Yet if all three had enrollments between 600 and 700, much of the budgetary anxiety would be solved. It's easier to justify the FTE. La Colina would no longer be chained to the bus system for inbound students and could actually make adjustments to the best interest of its own neighborhood students, families, and staff, while La Cumbre and Santa Barbara Junior High would not need to cut entire programs. Superintendent Maldonado, I thank you for underscoring the value of music education last month when you shared that learning to sing helped you learn English. It's a critical reminder of the value of the arts in literacy. I also want to thank the district for these highlights of the vibrant arts programs throughout our schools. One way the district could take a small step further would be the website. Maybe instead of clip art of drama masks and music symbols next to a brief description of the performing arts, we could link to some pictures or video clips of successes, such as the only teacher in the entire district who was honored at Santa Barbara County's Salute to Teachers event last month. The paragraph is hard to find, but it's just below the signups for how to apply for an intra-district transfer. Maybe if more incoming Santa Barbara Junior High parents knew that the Performing Arts Teacher of the Year was on their future campus, they'd be less inclined to transfer to better programs elsewhere. If nothing else, while visibility is great, actions speak louder than optics. California passed a one-time block grant and an ongoing Prop 28 that's flooded the arts with more funding than I'll ever see again in the course of my career. I have roughly doubled the entire budget of my school available strictly for the performing arts, about $200,000. And I'm still waiting to be reimbursed for $750 I spent in May. I can't get reimbursed for 0.003% of the money earmarked for me because a theater teacher purchasing scripts for a play performance has required multiple layers of review and approval for 6 months and counting. This is my 21st month in a row at a school board meeting, every time pleading about something actively preventing me from doing my job. I would love nothing more than to stop pestering you people. Please, curb the transfers, help remove these critical spending obstacles that are faced by so many teachers in our district. The kids are paying the ultimate price for our delays. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Kate Lambert, followed by Carolina Bate, followed by Lisa Sloan. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hold on. Is the mic on? Sorry.
That they need to really watch what's happening with all of our electives, what's happening in our junior highs, and where our programs are going to be. Those lovely roadmaps that our students put out and showed us where they got to and told us about where they came from. They're going to be taking a huge chunk out of the middle of that. If we do not protect all the arts, all the electives, all the opportunities that students get, especially at the junior high level, that is the right in the middle, right when you're trying to decide what type of person you want to be, what you want to be interested in, and you start to become your own person. You step into your own shoes. I would love to see more and more art, more and more performances, more and more all around involvement in electives. To do that, we have to protect them. Definitely curbing interdistrict transfers from one school to another, making sure we balance out, is actually in the best interest of all the students on all the campuses and speaks to equity. Another group that we want to protect, and I love that we have that resolution. That's a very cool resolution and it makes me so proud. Another group that we want to protect and make sure that we do not sideline or marginalize would be our special ed students. Special ed day came and went, and it was very quiet. I don't want anything for myself as a special ed teacher. I want something that shows on my campus that we recognize and stand by and stand for the equal opportunities that we provide in our classroom for students with different learning abilities. It all began back in 1972 with Mills versus the Board of Education. It went on to be the All Handicapped Children's Access to Education. This is not that long ago, 1970s. We can't let it go quietly. And we did, and I would like to see us do something way better to support our students. So community, please keep an eye out on what's going on at the junior highs with electives. School board and school district in total, I would like to see us do better by some of our students that are oftentimes forgotten or skipped over because it would be awkward maybe to point out that we want to celebrate them. That's something that I would love to see happen in this district. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Carolina Bate, followed by Lisa Sloan, followed by Hosby Galindo. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Freedom of speech. What is the meaning of freedom of speech, and why is it so important? Freedom of speech means you are free to respectfully speak your ideas in public, like at school board meetings during public comment. You are free to expect that all elected office holders understand our Constitution and the guaranteed First Amendment right of every American to freedom of speech. You are free to hope that everyone listening, including any who may disagree, will be civil and respectful and at least give your ideas some thoughtful consideration. You are free to believe that your ideas will be judged on their merit and determined to be valuable and worthy of support. Why is it important to have freedom of speech? Freedom of speech is essential because it keeps us peaceful. It is unfair for some people to get to speak freely while other people are not allowed the same freedom. No one likes to be treated unfairly, and arbitrary rules lead to resentment and frustration. Not only is the right to freedom of speech being taken away, but the right of the audience to hear different ideas is also being taken away. Freedom of speech is essential because nobody knows everything, and the truth is that we need each other to work together in a complementary manner to respectfully share good and useful ideas. In this way, everyone is treated equally. There is peace and calm, the best outcome is achieved, and everyone benefits, especially the students in our Santa Barbara Unified School District. And as well, without freedom of speech, we cannot have democracy. In our country, candidates campaign on their platforms and on the principles they think are important. Candidates for school board. Freedom of speech is essential so that each candidate can propose their views and ideas, and the voters can decide.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next up, we have Lisa Sloan, followed by Hosby Galindo, followed by Joel Block. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. Good evening, President Sims Moten and board members. My name is Lisa Sloan. I'm here to speak to you regarding what happened at the last meeting when a public commenter had an argument. She had an argument and supported her premise with a passage from the Holy Bible. On November 12th, Carolina Bate gave comments as to why Good News Club is beneficial to students at the Santa Barbara Unified Schools. She used as her argument a passage from Psalms 23 to demonstrate why the Holy Scriptures are so important in our school system. But rather than allowing her to speak, the president interrupted her multiple times. These interruptions violated Caroline's right to free speech. Speakers before this board may present their opinions regarding issues within the jurisdiction of the board, as the president expressed, such as curriculum or programs to be provided to students in our community, including the after-school programs. Therefore, Mrs. Abate deserves a public apology. How is it proper for you to silence a speaker at this podium who presents her opinion with quotes from an authoritative source to support her position? This board owes the tax-paying public the right to be heard. In the case of Good News Club, which teaches the Bible, we can see the value of those lessons more clearly by considering the scriptures which are being taught in the proposed after-school program. Another issue that was not raised was that the president's actions unfairly targeted the Christian point of view. Meanwhile, you are looking at approving as part of the after-school program mindfulness and yoga, which are both imposing philosophical and religious points of view. It has been said that yoga is simply physical exercise. However, if you go to the website entitled awaken.com, Gary Craftsbow, founder and director of the American Vinyasa Institute in Oakland, California, says during an interview with the Yoga Journal, yoga was never secular traditionally. It was always connected to spirituality, and spirituality is never separated from religion. If you are offering after-school programs that originate in a religious practice rooted in Hinduism and Buddhism, why is the Christian program not included in the package? Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Hosby Galindo, followed by Joel Block. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, school board members, superintendent, and cabinet. First, I would like to thank Board President Wendy Sim-Moten for her service to this school community. This is a very important public role, and you stepped up to implement systems to help students. Thank you so much. I've always come here to advocate for teachers and their needs, which in turn is always a benefit for students too. As you know, there was a very serious incident at the Quetzal campus earlier this year. Early this school year, I attended meetings with Quetzal teachers, site, and district administrators, both teachers, and I raised concerns about the new bell schedule student services presented to Quetzal educators. Those concerns still need to be addressed. Safety is the primary concern. To create a safer environment, Quetzal teachers work through their prep period. Teachers have stressed the importance of needing 2 credentialed teachers in the classroom at all times to help de-escalate, redirect, and connect with students. Please remember that Quetzal receives students that not only deal with their own trauma, but also systemic trauma, and it takes special individuals to provide the supports students need. Unfortunately, they are not being compensated for this extra work. We should be seeing a graphic later tonight that alludes to a new spectrum for equity, justice. Justice has not been provided for the students and teachers of this program. It's not okay for administrators to just allow teachers to continue doing extra work without offering to pay them for their time, nor is it fair for these teachers that these teachers have been asking for additional credential educators to come be part of the program. Please, I ask you to look into the history of this school site. These teachers stepped up to propose a trauma-informed, asset-based, and culturally responsive space in the absence of a dedicated South County Opportunity Community Day School for grades 7 through 12. This was necessary and demanded by the community with the closing of El Puente County program. However, the district has not provided all the resources this school needs. Please help these highly dedicated teachers not to burn out. Give them and the students the justice they deserve. Board Member Escobedo, last school year, you made a comment that SBTA was not willing to work with the district. In that particular case, you were referring to the junior high school bell schedule. Please remember that I was willing to share with you all the times SBTA has had to find a workaround the contract in order to make sure students receive services. Services you cannot provide yourself in the role you currently hold. SBTA is willing and ready to negotiate this school year. We can negotiate if you, the school board, decide to mutually open negotiations. SBTA should not have to waive their contractual rights in order for students to have access to transportation or services. There are so many reasons to negotiate this year. We are willing to work with you, but we draw the line when you ask teachers to give up their contractual rights. I hope we can work together to improve the learning environment and the learning experience for all students. Please come to the negotiation table. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Joel Block. Welcome.
Thank you. So I often come before you to harangue, to complain, to point out things I find disturbing, and in a certain way to teach. But tonight I decided to do something different. So hopefully it doesn't surprise you too much. As many of you know, I've been working in education for over 40 years and in the Santa Barbara Unified School District for 25 years. During that time, I've seen many school board members, district superintendents, district administrators, school principals, and teachers come and go. Additionally, I have often spoken at school board meetings, both, maybe to your surprise, in favor and in opposition to something going on in the district. But tonight I wish, as I've said, to take a different approach. Tonight I am here to say thank you to Dr. Sims Moten. I guess what I said must have knocked off your sense. Over the years, Dr. Sims Moten and I have often interacted. Well, more recently, we've had differing takes on various situations. It may surprise some of you to know that we have often actually agreed. For example, in the past, pre-COVID, when the implementation of ethnic studies in the current form of health education was vociferously challenged by members of the public, I often spoke at board meetings in defense of the school board and the district. At those moments, Dr. Sims Moten and I were on the same side. Although recently we have disagreed on issues, I have always respected and admired your fairness and sense of equity. I have never doubted your sincere desire to work cooperatively with all stakeholders to solve and rectify conflicts, and I've appreciated your honesty and willingness to truly listen. If we had learned anything in the past year in America, is that we need to listen to, consider, and work with those with whom we profoundly disagree. Dr. Sims Moten, for me, has personified this, and I am truly grateful for your hard work. In closing, I want to thank you for your work in what is generally a totally thankless job. I will miss working and conversing with you and our disagreements and conversations, and wish you the best of luck in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam President, that concludes public comment.
Okay, thank you. Public comments. Now we'll move to board comments and correspondence. Board members, any comments and or questions? Any comments you'd like to have? Dr. Bill?
I'll just comment very quickly that I really enjoyed the art show that we saw, and especially the comments made by the students who provided the artwork, from the fact that these were emotional connections and that they learned from kindergarten, which is so striking. And I really hope that we can figure out, I know it's scheduling and it's distribution of funds and it's resources, to really preserve those fine arts through the whole spectrum of their education. I think it's very important, and we see that right there. And it's so many spheres of, mental wellness and engagement and everything. It's something we can't lose sight of.
Additional comments, Ms. Munoz?
Yes. You go ahead and
I also want to acknowledge the talented artists that presented and say thank you for an opportunity for us to see that kind of work and hear directly from the students. I wanted to share a couple of just pieces of information. I have recently received an email from an international high school student in Canada who found found Santa Barbara Unified in doing research in preparation for for a year-long research project focused on phone and app addiction in adolescents and perspectives and reactions of various stakeholders. During her research, she found Santa Barbara Unified School District information about the program that we created 2 years ago, the Off and Away program, and she's looking for some just impressions from board members and people in the district as part of her research. So I just wanted to say that the work we're doing, not only the visit with our superintendent and board member Escobedo with the governor, but it has international reach, and I thought that was very interesting. Also, I want to acknowledge our student board members' notice of the girls' tennis, the CIF championship, and I wanted to quote something from the newspaper from the coach, because I think it goes a little bit to say, you know, why do we say thank you? What's the big deal? Coach Danny Eck said, "I want to thank the team individually and collectively for helping me understand what a team can be. I challenge them for the remainder of their lives to become team members as they did this time, and their lives will be that much better." So it's not just winning a CIF. It's about creating teamwork. It's about the work of what school district does for the students in the community. Also want to acknowledge the incredible value and appreciation for the district for providing the board an opportunity to attend the CSBA Annual Education Conference. We were a board of 5 that attended. It was well worth the time in terms of getting to know one another and learning more things about our roles and how to do them better. And so thank you to the district for that. 2 more things briefly. I'm very much aware that we get wrapped up into terminology and things that we understand. I would like to acknowledge, however, or ask the question, and maybe somebody from, maybe Dr. Maldonado, we just talked about a committee and talked about all kinds of meetings and so forth for a universal screener. And I'm not sure that that term universal screener is something that is universally understood by the people that might be listening. So I would ask that we pay attention to our jargon when we're doing this kind of thing, and when something comes up, with just a more careful eye towards something that might be helpful. And finally, it was in 2016, that's 8 years ago, that I was sitting at a CSBA conference in San Francisco, I believe, as the superintendent of the Goleta School District, when our 2 boards were there, Santa Barbara Unified and Goleta, and it was the first time I ever met Wendy Sims Moten. And I remember very clearly at that moment, I think I sat next to her or across from her, so we had a chance to talk. And I remember thinking, what a great person that is to have on a school board. And it's been an honor to serve with her during these last 2 years and to continue on the board. And I just want to say what a privilege it is. And we're fortunate to have had leadership like that coming from Dr. Sims Moten for the last 8 years. And I know she'll continue to be part of things because I've made her give me her phone number and let me talk to her when I need more mentoring and support. So thank you, Wendy.
Thank you. Ms. Munoz.
Yes, I think I'm ready. It's been a difficult night. My board sister here is going to be taking off, but we're going to keep checking in on her, right, Bill? I'd like to sincerely express my appreciation to President Sims Moten for her leadership, her mentorship, her support, and her strong representation for our Black students in our district, for the littles, and for the high school students who are on their way to college and out into the world and such. So thank you so much for that. I really also appreciated the art that was shared by our students and how they were expressed themselves about, how they decided to make artwork about mentors in their family, such as the, I believe, great grandmother and the little sister. I think that's precious. I think they are so talented. I still can't believe that they made those paintings. They're beautiful. and the proud parents, family, or supports persons that were here with them. So thank you so much, Dr. Maldonado, for organizing that. And for the team to organize that. Thank you.
Mr. Escobedo.
Yeah, just a couple quick notes. Congratulations to the Santa Barbara High School girls tennis team, and thank you for sharing that quote. Congrats to Romero, Daniela, and Adeline, for the 3 students. That was beautiful, and a beautiful message about accepting yourself. I thought that was very insightful. Let's see. The governor's trip, you had already mentioned it, but one thing that I wanted to highlight is it was pretty neat to tell the story of how we got there and highlight the leadership from SBTA to really bring that up with the district office, and then the partnership, and really the success was out of the partnership. And so I just wanted to highlight that. Next is CSBA for the annual education conference. When you hear about some of the stuff that goes on in other school districts and what they're dealing with, it makes you really grateful to be a part of Santa Barbara Unified. And I know that we are not perfect and we are not where we need to be, but my goodness, we are leading in a lot of areas. And again, we're not where we are in all areas, but I had school districts coming up to me, thanking us for providing insight on ethnic studies, which we implemented before it was a requirement. We had school districts come up to us about the off and away policy, again, before it was a requirement. I spoke with quite a few school districts who are dealing with anti-Blackness in their schools, and got to tell them about where we're at in addressing it. When I think about all of these areas and more, it makes me really proud because I feel like we do have a brave, courageous school district that is willing to take on these issues head on in partnership with our union partners. And the fact that we don't let politics seep in and we really center the students in what we do was quite encouraging. And so I wanted to bring that back because that was something that I reflected on quite a bit after returning from the conference. And then lastly, Dr. Sims Moten. I didn't mention this earlier, so we had a celebration and I said some nice things about Wendy, which were all true. But one thing that I forgot to mention is just how good you are at reading the room and providing space for people. I spoke a lot earlier about she leads with humanity, and she really does in all things that she does. But one other thing that oftentimes goes unnoticed and unspoken is she has this uncanny ability of knowing when someone wants to step in or say something and they're holding back, or they're missing from the conversation, they haven't spoken in a while, or she can sense body language, someone feels uncomfortable, and she invites them into conversations. And I said this last year due to something unfortunate, but it was very true of we need more people like Wendy in spaces like these. And I'm very grateful to have spent the last 2 years in spaces like these with people like you.
Thank you. Any additional comments, board members? Ms. Munoz.
Yeah, sorry, I'm working on this in terms of speaking and such, but I did want to also give my support to the arts programs throughout the schools, such as Dr. Beals mentioned, for our young students. Thank you.
So, yeah, it's hard to, well, thank you for all your wonderful comments and even the public comments. Trust me, I'm intently looking at things and how do we be better as a district. You know, when I came here in 2016, the desire was to make sure that we have a learning environment for all of our students so they're successful in this world. And this is just part of their journey there. And how can we be an influential part of that? And we actually are, be it good, bad, or in between, but we are an influential part of their journey. And so every decision, every policy discussion that we have has been centered on the best for all of our students. and being when we have segments of our students who are being historically harmed by our systems, we take those things head on. And I know we did that with our anti-Blackness group all the way through. And oftentimes when the boards are having to take positions on decisive topics, we have to also keep in front and in the forefront of every decision that we make, even when we're in disagreement with others, it is the best for our students. And not everybody is going to agree, but how we get there. And so I really resonated with the young lady who talked about imperfections. We are an imperfect district. There's no shame in that. I'm just saying that we're continuing to work hard through the hard work that has come to change. And I know oftentimes when change happens, we're looking for a big thing that says, yes, that change has happened. But I stand here and sit here today to tell you there's a lot of change that's happening that are small changes. I akin it to, I'm a big tennis fan, so I often watch the tennis folks, and they're doing these small adjustments to get in the right spot to make sure they're able to hit that ball where they want it to go. And I think that's exactly what we're doing. We're making those small steps. Huge and lasting change cannot happen overnight. There would be like we've gone 50 steps and we're ahead, and then something will come up and it will move us back. But as long as we continue to go forward, we're going to get there. And we have had some not so good moments. And I say as a district, I'm not pointing out, I'm as a district, I absolutely love this district. I love this district and all of its imperfections and all the things that we're willing to work hard for. So I appreciate being here, a part of that, and where we're going with that. And yes, we will have difference of opinion, but I want us to understand that us as adults, which I often go back to why I love early care and education too, you learn a lot of conflict resolution when you're figuring out. You do. And if you miss that part of that, which I think is so important that we really invest resources, thoughts, kind, and things in those early years, because then we don't become these adults that still are trying to work it out. Right. So because it's there, but I say that in jest, but and also in the sense that we're going to work through everything that we need to do to, again, make sure that this environment, that any student that comes here, they're going to be seen, valued, and heard. They are. It's in the atmosphere. We don't have to keep writing resolution. It's just that if your parents decide to bring you to Santa Barbara Unified, you already know that your child's going to be accepted. And with regards to when we have disagreements, you've heard, if nothing else you've heard me say for these 8 years, it is about respect and trying to make sure that the things that we're being asked to do is really within the confines of what the school has to do. And sometimes the outside world comes in and it challenges and it distracts us from what we need to do to educate our students. So you heard me push back, but I know this board is going to continue to do what they need to do to listen and have conversation and encourage conversation to center everything that we're doing is making this a great learning environment for our students. It's that simple for me. And in terms of why are you here? The why has never changed since 2016. It won't change on December 11th, because I'm just not in this dais talking about it, but I will be talking about it forever in terms of how important the care and education of our children, and that it should be an untouchable entitlement, because schools and many organizations that have our goals to teach our students are being asked to do so many things outside of what they were designed for. And so with that being said, because we can't ignore the things that the community is part of as well. So we have to figure out how we're going to adapt our design to the students that come here. And I think we're doing just that. So I want to say thank you for the good moments and the not so good moments, but they're all part of who we are as Santa Barbara Unified and all the glory of Santa Barbara Unified. I've been a parent in this district. I've served on PTA in this district. So I've served in so many different roles, and I don't try to speak from experience that I haven't had. But I also want to thank you for the privilege to have served on this board, to serve with this board. And someone asked me today, what is it that you hope for going forward? I hope that we continue to do the hard work on the things that are hard, because we inherited a lot of things. I was saying this earlier today. We have inherited a lot of things, policies from previous boards, policies from different things that have come in. We inherit those things. We inherit leaders sometimes, all those different things. but we want to make whatever we inherit better for the next generation. So that's important that we work together to do that. And everything that's everybody's saying, and I do take copious notes about what's being said. What can we do about that? How is that impacting the students? Teachers, we want to make sure teachers that are coming in behind the ones that may be retiring, that they're inheriting a good, strong system that advocates for teachers' rights. Our leaders, we want to make sure, our superintendents, our board members, we want to make sure that those that are coming behind us inherit a better system and it continues to improve. So the inheritance becomes our legacy, what we are inheriting for those who are coming behind us. So again, thank you for the opportunity to serve. It truly has been a learning experience and it has questioned me often. But it never questioned why I was here. That was never a question. And that's to serve and create a learning environment for our students, for every student that come here, because they are our future. And when we put them first, they will be the future sitting here. And so hopefully because of their inheritance, they will be much better and much stronger to where we need to go. So thank you for the opportunity again to serve this, and I'm going to keep on moving on with the business now. We are next moving to item E, acceptance of donations. May I have a motion for acceptance?
I move to accept donations for December 10th, 2024 with gratitude.
Any second?
I second.
Okay, been motion second. All in favor, please raise your hands and say aye.
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 Thank you. All right, we're moving to our consent agenda. Superintendent or board members, are there any items you'd like to pull?
Yes, I have been informed by Dr. Sheffield that for consent agenda item number 5, we are pulling the San Marcos High School choir field trip. There, and I'm looking to Dr. Sheffield, that needs some more information as to the funding sources, and we're still well ahead of the agenda, so we'll bring it back next month. And I'm sorry that these are not numbered, but it's on the second page.
Okay.
Right towards the bottom, it is the choir field trip, the choir trip by San Marcos High School. So we can
Is
just
that the
pull
World
that.
Strides?
Yes, World Strides, correct.
Okay. So the World Strides on that one, we want to, I'll make sure we're just going to pull that item out. Okay. And then, so there's
And
two. So
another one, do you want to?
World Strides.
World Strides and
There's also a contract there for the Airbus to take them to the choir. So it's the two items at the bottom of the World Strides and the Airbus.
Oh, okay.
for the same one. And then item 13, Dr. Beal. I think that's a VADA
Yeah. you need to-
approval
Yes.
under consent agenda item 13.
Okay. Yeah.
On consent agenda item 13, I will recuse myself from that approval.
Okay, I'll take a separate vote on that one, but I would say items 1 through with the corrections or the pulling of World San Marcos High School and the Airbus. We're pulling from that. So with those exceptions that have now been pulled, because I'm going to pull 13 as a separate motion. So the other items.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda minus item 13 and the 2 items on item 5.
Second that motion.
Okay, been motion second items through 1 through 12 with the also pulling of those. And so now may I have a separate motion for item 13?
Do we want to vote on that motion?
Oh, that's it.
First.
All in favor. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Thank you.
And now I will move to approve item 13, the filling of the notice of completion for Santa Barbara High School VADA Academy project in accordance with Civil Code Section 9204.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, been motion second. I will do a roll call just because we have one. Okay. Board Member Escobedo.
Aye.
Mr. Banning.
Aye.
Ms. Munoz.
Aye.
And you've already recused. And Sims Moten, aye. Motion passes 4-1 with 1 exception. Okay, that motion passes I think, are we done with any additional? We're done with all of those. Okay, and so now we will move to item G1, report and discussion of the fall 2024, and Ms. Edison's on her way here, of the climate and culture survey results.
All right. Good evening, board. It is a privilege and honor to present on this last meeting for you, Madam President and board. I hope that we continue with the work, and hopefully the information I'm providing you today can help guide some of that work moving forward. So I will start, as you know, as a district, we have adopted as our survey platform the Panorama survey. That is just a platform. It is a product, but it allows us to seek information and feedback from the experiences of students, families, and staff within our organization and triangulate that data so that we can use data to guide decisions. So I'm excited to share our district report for you. As you know, we organize as an organization to develop and sustain systems that will outlive all of us so that students and families are the people who are better off because of it. And this is just a image for that. I do want to take a moment to speak to this slide. We have focused really about interrupting system harms and woes. Our focus and our goal is always justice. I'm going to walk us through the equity and justice slide so that it's, images so that it's clear. Equity says everyone gets what they need when they need it, from whom they need it. But as an organization, it's in a particular place. So that's what's depicted in equity. You are getting what you need, but it might be in a particular place. Justice means regardless of where you are in our organization, you get access to all things you need, and it isn't a particular place, class, person, day of the week, particular time slot. It is readily accessible. We are eliminate the barrier of destination and location. So we are working for a just system. Regardless of where you are in our system, you have access to what you need, whether that is acceleration or remediation, whether that is exposure, whether that is services, awareness, regardless of where you are in our organization. We are working to be a just system that isn't dependent on individuals holding roles, but we have established a norm within our system that kids have access to what they need everywhere. And we also are ensuring that as we focus on belonging, belonging means more than just I am on the roll, but it really is the value supported, seen, and included in all spaces. So that is the significance of this slide. It depicts it in an image, and I just want you to have the words behind the image. As I said, we will use data to guide our decisions. Tonight, will hear some outcome data, which is what students, families, and teachers reported. But you all have been really interested in implementation data, and I will also share some of that. You have that in your board memo, and I will highlight some of it for this presentation. So here's the meat and potatoes. These are the many different areas where we surveyed family, students, and staff to gain their experiences in our system. Of these 23 areas, we had growth in 22 of them. That is 96% of the areas we surveyed families, students, and staff, we had growth. That's tremendous. We are not a system of perfection. We are a system of progress. So we are moving in the right direction. It isn't about the percentage of growth, it's just growth. So we're excited for that. This data that we received back represents 87% of our 3rd through 6th graders, 82% of our 7th through 12th graders, exceeding our 80% goal, which is our goal for our Panorama participation rate, which we monitor. That is a significant achievement, leadership, and how they also put the importance of the Panorama survey, embedded it in their school day, and made it a priority to get the information from our students. So I do want to acknowledge their efforts. That's our principals, our deans, and our APs. We also surveyed 288 of our 720 classified staff, which is 40% of our staff. We're always looking towards progress, and 80% is our goal. We have 439 teachers respond of our 835, which is 53%. Both of those are increases from last year. So we definitely want to celebrate that progress. For families, our goal was 1,000 families this year, and we had 936. We got real close. So we'll continue to set standards and expectations for prioritizing the surveys so that we can continue to increase our outcomes. So I'm excited again for this data to share with you. You have a robust memo, and I'll just highlight a couple of points. For our sense of belonging, as you know, we link initiatives in this district because we do use MTSS practices. I do want to highlight a couple that were mentioned tonight and a couple of others. Sense of belonging, some of the initiative that contribute to this space and area is our ethnic studies classes, our adoption of wit and wisdom, which is representation for our student population in the text. Yes, the San Marcos World Culture Day. I want to highlight that. The BSU community event tomorrow, that's also supporting it. Our 3 R's initiative, that is an initiative that contributes to belonging. Our Project Inspire, rolling out for our newcomer families, introducing them to the education system in America and preparing them to be meaningful participants in their child's education. Spirit Days, clubs, and even a small test of change that's happening in HR right now, which is how do we fill the void in our diverse workforce with our student population, because the diversity is already there. So those are initiatives. When we think of sense of belonging, it just isn't about making sure kids see themselves, but it's how as a system we center belonging in every decision we make. So I'm excited to highlight some of my colleagues' work there. Sense of belonging is a data point that we are really focused on district-wide, although every data point matters. But for sense of belonging, it is important for us to stay focused on not only all students, which is what you see here today, but the platform allows us to dive deeper, disaggregate the data, and do multivariate analysis when we look at how do these data points contribute to the academic performance of students and professional development of the adults. So as you can see, we had growth in both of these areas. The survey is divided by 3rd through 6th grade and 7th through 12th. And it's the same questions with changes of language so that it is relevant for the age group that's taken it. What you see here is 69% of our students responded positively in the responses about belonging, having a sense of belonging at their schools. That's up 2 percentage points from when we did it in the spring. As you know, we do Panorama twice because we want to accelerate results for students. And where we can tweak mid-year, we want to do that. We do it in the fall, and then we do it again in the spring. So that, for us, is really helping us accelerate results for kids. 41% of our 7th through 12th graders responded positively to the questions around sense of belonging, which is up 3 percentage points from last spring, which is great. For our teachers, as you see that first one, 70% of our classified staff reported that they have a sense of belonging on the campus, which is up 5 percentage points from the spring. And then for our teachers, 68% reported, and that's no change. That column where you see the circles is about how we compare nationally. So when we talk about sense of belonging, our score was 69% of our students responded positively. But what it tells us when compared to other districts throughout the state is we scored higher than 90% of the districts who also use Panorama. So we're in good standing. For our 7th through 12th graders, we scored higher than 20% of the districts that are also in Panorama. So it isn't enough to look at where we score to say we're high or low. It really is important to compare where we're standing nationally and that same data point across the nation. And that's districts that utilize Panorama. For our staff results, for our classified staff, we scored higher than 60% of the districts, and then for same for our teachers. So we're in good standing in that work. One of the perks and tools of Panorama is that it also offers a playbook. This is in our phase 3 of implementation, which will be coming up in the next school year, that teachers can identify a data metric they want to work on, and then it provides them with strategies that are vetted and teacher prepared so that they can implement immediately. It really is about giving practices to the practitioners for real-time implementation and pivot. So this is a great tool that our teachers also will have access to. And I do want to acknowledge that each of these data points is everyone's work. It isn't just one person's work and it isn't just one role's work, but the tools that are in this playbook are targeted for teachers. Some of the other data points that we're focusing on as we look at planning our initiatives already for 25-26 and ensuring that we're meeting the mark is our Educating All Students is a band of questions. You have a copy of a little bit more information about these, and it really is asking teachers, how equipped do you feel at meeting the needs of all students? And specifically, it asks about students with unique needs and students with language differences. That data point for us is pivotal when we're planning professional learning because that is feedback. This is teachers speaking for themselves on where they see the need. This links to our initiatives on how do we provide services and supports for our EML students? How are we providing time for our students with IEPs to be with their general ed student peers, and that preparing teachers to meet their needs in those spaces? So that data point will be one that we really focus on moving throughout the years so that we are ensuring that our teachers feel supported and have the skill set and professional learning that helps them meet the needs of all learners. Rigorous expectations is a band of questions that asks students, does your teacher challenge you to try your best when you want to give up? Do you have the necessary help and supports in class to meet your goals? So we do want to ensure that all of our students have rigorous expectations, which is common for many students in most spaces, but we have a data point and metric for us to focus on. We have 79% of our students in grades 3 through 6 responded favorably or positive to those questions. It's down 2 percentage points since the spring. And for our 7th through 12th graders, 62% of our students responded favorably, and there was progress with a rise in 3 percentage points. Another place we're focusing is making sure we're providing the skills for the professionals for the roles that they're in. We had a real push this year to be very focus-minded on all staff. Many times professional learning leans towards teacher roles. This year we wanted to be sure we provided opportunities for everyone in our organization that is contributing to the results that we have. As you can see, our classified staff, it went up 11 percentage points that they felt that the professional learning provided was relevant to them, that they were included, and it was relevant to their roles. There was no change in our teacher feedback. Our professional learning about equity and professional learning about SEL, you don't have any comparison data there because this is the first time we offered it, these bands of questions. We will continue to monitor this area and offer it again in the spring, but these are areas of focus and growth as well. That is the overview. I am now available for any questions.
Any request to speak? No request to speak. Thank you, Ms. Everybody's a doctor. It's almost 8 o'clock, so everybody's a doctor, Dr. Edison. Thank you for that. So, board members, any comments or questions? Presentation. Dr. Bill?
I'm glad to see that there are favorable responses in many areas. I'm trying to make a connection in my mind between the idea of the favorable response and then this comparison to other districts. Like I'm just trying to understand the meaning of that. So there were the brown dots, right? Kind of lower. How many districts are we comparing ourselves to? How valuable is that data?
It is a large number, and I'll get back to you with the exact number, but it's over 40,000. I just don't have the exact number.
So my real question is, I don't need to know as much the number, is just what are we doing? What are we going to do with this data? So when we have these discussions, I'm glad to see the results. And we're talking about the intentional actions we're going to take to improve them. Is there going to be at some time a discussion about what those specific actions might be, just so we understand what is going on?
Yeah, you'll actually receive those many times throughout the year. You'll see actions in the safety plans. You'll see action in the school site plans. Everything that you're seeing now, sites receive at the site level and can assess and disaggregate by subgroup. So they're already planning their actions around data points that you've seen tonight. You're seeing the balcony, which is everyone. That's not the actionable work for school sites. We are focused at the district level on where we, as the point of intervention, provide either guidance, resources, or a consultation. But for your sake, you will see that in all the plans that are coming before you throughout the school year. But where you should be looking are the school site safety plans and the school site plans.
Okay.
So just to follow up. So to clarify, Ms. Edison, the principals have received their school-based data for the Panorama survey, and each principal then looks at their school data, their responses, and that's where the action planning takes place. So the same happened, as you know, for the first time we did department surveys, and each cabinet leader has worked with their department on, given the feedback we're getting on these different topics, what will we each do? So every leader, everyone who has direct reports, gets to see their own data. What you're hearing tonight is the combined all schools. And I would say maybe 2 months ago, I shared with you the department overall findings. I hope that clarifies a little bit of the question you were asking.
Also, your second question about the relevancy of being compared to other folks throughout the nation, we may look at a data point and go, ooh, we're very low. But in comparison to other districts throughout the nation, we may be higher than normal. And so that doesn't mean we're complacent. We're always looking for growth, and progress for us is the focus. So the comparison allows us to put it in context to, oh, it might be low, but it's higher than average, and we still have work to do. So that's where the comparison comes into play.
I think my big comment on all this data is, like you said, we're at the balcony level. And so to some degree, I know that there are individual site actions that need to happen. When we're talking about the culture and the atmosphere in the district as a board member, if there is something that we are, as a group, a major change we're thinking about or talking about, maybe that's really what I'm waiting to hear, is that, and looking at this data and looking at it at the granular level at the school sites, and then obviously the district leadership is looking at it, to have this report at the same time, if there are a few areas where you say, well, looking at this data, we're thinking maybe we might do this. That's maybe what I'm looking to hear. Does that make sense? The data to action.
Which is why I pulled out the data points I pulled out in this presentation, because as a district, we're focusing on sense of belonging. So I put that information for you. The Educating All Students and Professional Learning is where we are looking to get better at having targeted professional learning that change behaviors, that change the experiences of students, which is why that data point was in there. There's a lot of data points, but the ones I brought to you tonight are the ones that transcend across all departments and all school sites. And the work around that is how we align our contributions to accelerate results for our students. And those data points are the ones that we're all looking at. Sites can elect to. I can speak to the climate culture work that's happening and safety work. Sites were tasked to look at and select 2 data points that you're going to focus on this year. We can't do everything, but we can do a few things well that have a ripple effects across our whole school community. And that's what we're asking folks to do. So the data points in here were intentional because those are the data points as a cabinet and at school sites will have a biggest impact across our organization.
And I think you mentioned that when you talked about the ethnic studies and you made actually some very specific references. And I think that's what I'm looking to hear is like the specific references and what has increased sense of belonging, et cetera, has made those scores go up. And then just really, again, when I talk about data, I'm not looking to say, oh my gosh, this is terrible. We're doing terrible at this. It's more just the thoughtful analysis is, oh, maybe we are thinking we should do this differently. And that to me is a conversation we have as boards with the data.
Yep.
Mr. Benny?
A question in regard to fall versus spring comparison. So we're talking about results here we saw were fall results.
Yes, we just did this survey the end of September, beginning of October.
Okay, and we're seeing that compared to spring. So there's a grade level change for students in between there. There's some school changes for students that were in one school that moved to another.
Yep.
First question is, will we see a fall to spring this year that will show
Yes.
the continuity there?
Yes.
And I guess the second question related to that is, over time, will we be able to see more than 2 steps of growth or change?
So we can see that in our long-term data. It shows every time we've taken the survey. On the slides that I showed you, it will only show the growth from the previous one.
Okay.
But when you log into the platform, it compares, it shows a trajectory of growth since onset of implementation.
Okay. And just a nerdy data comment, if you will, the confusion between percent and percentile is something, again, that falls in that range of jargon of what it means. The terms can be used interchangeably, but they don't mean the same thing. And
Absolutely.
I think that the most important takeaway from this came from Dr. Beal's question, which is what the percentile comes from a norming group. It is a group of like comparisons, but we don't know if we look at a standard distribution bell curve for what those were. It's a different norming group than what Panorama has created, looking at different districts or so forth. So I find that information it's good information. I think you're right to be focused on growth. Percentile can be very confusing in terms of what it means. For example, I would say there was one slide in particular that would have me scratching my head. Almost 70% of teachers gave a positive response, and we were in a 0 to 19th percentile on that. That means that 70%, more than 2/3 of our teachers were positive, yet in a comparison to whatever this norming group was, we're down on the bottom left tail of it. And that's something I would scratch my head and say, how can that be? And there were a couple of other places where I saw surprisingly low percentile ranks with what would initially be a reaction of those are pretty positive percentages. I guess it's not a question, just an observation about how complex this stuff can be, no matter how simple the graphs look and that type of thing. So I applaud the effort to continue to be looking at what's really mattering, and that's growth, getting better at things that we're targeting.
Vito?
Thank you for a very thorough board memo.
Welcome.
I really enjoyed going through the board memo. A lot of information in there. Congratulations on getting 930 families. That's big. That is a lot of families. I like the idea.
That's the FEL's work. I want to acknowledge that they really put a big push in.
That is huge.
Yeah.
That is huge. And I think if we can continue that and work on progress, just think about how valuable that data is. Yeah. To your point that you always make, we have the kids 180 days, community and families have them 365.
Yeah.
So I also learned other terminology from you. linking initiatives. So can you talk to me about Panorama and how we're linking this to other initiatives that we have in the district?
Absolutely. I talk about the Educating All Students. As you know, Ed Services is doing a lot of work around high quality instruction through our SIMS plan, our SACE plan. We're also working on UDL, Universal Design for Learning. So how do we create space in every classroom where students have access and representation for the curriculum? That's how Ed Services is linking it. For HR, he's really focused as a department on the feedback and coaching. As you can see, we have great staff leader relationships at the school site, but the area where there is potential for progress is feedback and coaching. How do we provide meaningful feedback and coach people so that they are their best professional selves, they get what they need, and that translates to the experiences of students being better? So Panorama is being used in that space. I can speak to my colleague, accountability and assessments. Steve and their department, when they're focusing on the 3 R's, they're going into the data and looking at how are teachers responding to being able to address issues that deal with race or racism? Do they feel like they have the skill set to do so? And how are we responding to the disaggregated data of different student groups and representation? I can talk about within my own department. For mental health, how are we focusing in on students, the percentage of students that are saying they're having really challenging feelings, and how are we supporting them with mental health supports and or social emotional learning supports to help them manage their emotions? When we talk about behavior and discipline, we're really focused on fair and consistent practices. One of the questions asked, is there fair practices when students misbehave? That's a data point that we're using. We also are focused a lot on the SEL for the adults. So the data point I shared for you, it was rather low, but it's a place to start. How do the adults feel the professional learning around social emotional learning is going? It didn't score high. So we have a focus area when we're planning summer professional learning and any other professional learning date. Kim is looking at, students are well, they show up to school. So our kids feeling like school is a place where they can thrive and succeed, and that includes meals. So how are we making sure that that data is connected to Panorama and or we're seeking out data that we may need? It transcends across every department within this district to look at a particular band of questions, which is the different subtitles you saw, or looking into the individual questions of each and every last one of those.
We have looked at and used the information from the Panorama survey in regards to professional learning. So it is our job to make sure that we are listening to the teachers. Number one, identifying their needs and what they're requesting and what they need to support them in the classes. And so we're doing that by looking at the Panorama survey. And then after we work with our individual teachers, we are doing individualized survey to identify if we're meeting the needs. If we have not, what do we need to do? What changes we need to make? And then we are also putting out surveys ahead of time to identify what we can do ahead of time to make sure we're providing opportunities for them to learn and be able to service our students much better.
Thank you. I think that's really helpful to talk about the power of the Panorama survey. It came up in the conversation that we had with the governor and his team about how do you know your off and away policy is effective? And Dr. Maldonado was able to point to some Panorama survey data, but also with all of the initiatives that you had just pointed to, it's really insightful for us to be a little bit more intentional about how we're addressing it. I think that gets a little bit to Dr. Beal's point earlier.
That's exactly what I was asking. You asked it better. Thank you.
No worries. But I think it makes it whole for us. And so I just want to give you my appreciation for that, for not only a well-detailed memo, but also your answer and description. And Dr. Sheffield, you as well, talking about how we're using the data, how we're being intentional about it, and how we're using it across all areas. And it's not just one area. And so thank you. I'm very appreciative.
Absolutely.
Additional comments, board members? Thank you for this report. I can just tell the excitement in your voice, so I'm connecting to that and the work, and I want to appreciate the refinement of the questions. Each time we refine it through either feedback from the board or, coming back from even the feedback of teachers, whoever, who's ever providing input for the survey. So I really appreciate the wide range that the survey can really be used for, right? And I do like that in the report, this just happened to land on this page, where I think we were asking like, okay, so connecting it to an initiative. And so on that part, we said cultural awareness, and you said cultural awareness and action. We're adult focused. So that's saying this is focusing on the adults. The action, whatever is happening, is focused on. So really appreciate that. What we're saying is in that question, right? It's really being said, we're focusing on the adults. And so I appreciate refining that further and further down as we're asking for more. How are we connecting? And I think this has really hugely moved us to really being able to connect it. And I really think the very detail to your point, Mr. Escobedo, it's almost 8, Doctor. That we're understanding that where are we connecting, because that's easy for us to be able to do. And I think this is just, again, previous evaluation or previous reports to figure out the data, what's going on. Has never really been this more cohesive and comprehensive in the way that, we're connecting that. And that's been part of the problem. We're doing things, but we're not connecting, or we're not seeing the connection. It doesn't mean that it's not. So really wanted to honor that piece and appreciate that and uplift that. The other question I have, so on the data with regards to students, do we then meet with Dr. Maldonado's student advisory group and go over that data with them?
So we did.
Okay.
We did share with them the survey data in spring. I can't recall. There's been a lot going on this year. I know I've presented to them. I'm not sure on which data I've given them.
Yeah.
But yes, we do get their feedback and share the information with them. I just wanted for clarity for the cultural awareness and action. The adult questions are asking how are the adults on your campus prepared to deal with issues of race, to have conversations about different main events that's happening in the news. Do you feel that the school is supported? The student focused questions are asking how students are interacting with each other. So we really are in the initiatives that I highlighted in this very detailed memo. Thank you for recognizing that. Really do spread across cabinet.
Yeah.
Right? Those aren't student and family services initiatives. So they are in here because it's how we do business at Santa Barbara Unified.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other comment I would make with regards to the national data, I appreciate that, but even more so, there's oftentimes that board receives, this is happening in Alabama, this is happening in where, and so we need that comparison to say where we are, what we're doing, so we can look at that and like, so that's happening in Alabama, that's being the change. So where are we in comparison? So I appreciate that wide of a data, because we do receive information on what's happening in another side of the country. So I think that's important data to do, and, to talk about, we're comparing to where we are, and 40,000, that's a lot, compared to, I know you don't have the exact number, but that's a huge number. And we are being, just as Mr. Banning said, people are looking at this district, what are you doing? So it's good to have that even larger, data point to look at in comparison. So I appreciate, I wanted to add and say I appreciate that. So no request to speak. Any additional comments? Okay, are we ready to take a vote? Hey, we got that first. No. I usually the reports are coming after the action. So okay. So I just want to honor that, right? Well, thank you so much, Ms. Edison, for that report. Thank you. Now we will move to our action agenda. We'll move to H2 because we've already done H1.
I'll move to approve Student Discipline Education Code 48918, case number 202425-06.
I'll second.
Okay, been motion second. All in favor, please raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. Now we'll go to H3.
I want to say this is a very lovely evening, and I'm so grateful that I get to do one more budget with Wendy Sims Moten. So thank you so much for all your work that you've done, especially regarding the budget. Okay, so this is the first interim. So for those who may be listening in the online or in the audience, this is our first iteration of our budget after adopted budget that happened way back in June. So this is the very first time that we get to look at all the bills that have been paid through October. So you have to choose a cutoff date for all budgets. And all the school districts across the state are doing this roughly the same time, right around this week, because it's a mandatory requirement that we do these budgets at this time. So for us, this is the first time that we get to look at the budget with our new agreements that with negotiations with our labor unions. So the 10% and for this current year and the 5% for the next year. And it also includes our multi-year projections. So as we look at our budgets, we are always kind of doing this circle of looking at our past, our current, and our next 2 years. We are there in December at the first interim report. And note that we are doing this report before the governor's budget in January. So there's a lot of information that we still don't know. And then we'll have LCAP in February, and on it goes. So we're always projecting as we are moving, and the parts are always kind of moving even at the state level. And we just, project with what we know. I'm going to turn this over to Lacey.
We received our first estimate from the county regarding our property tax revenue, and it ended up coming in higher than what the tax assessor's office had projected back in the spring. So when we brought adopted budget, we were projecting our property tax revenue would grow by 3.75%. And now we have a projection or an estimate from the county saying it's going to look more like 4.87%. We'll receive our next estimate in April, and that will probably be the closest that we will know until we get all of the actual property tax money in at the end of June. As you can see from the table, these percentages are calculated based on the actual dollar amounts that we will receive. And the change is calculated based on looking at the prior year revenue. This slide has our unrestricted and restricted revenues, and you can see that biggest area in blue, that is mostly made up of our property taxes, and you can see the increase there that I just talked about on the last slide. In regards to our state and federal revenue, in the green and the red, you can see that there's an increase there as well, and that is mainly due to unused grants from the prior year. So when we don't use the grants in the prior year, we have grants that span 18 months, 24 months, 27 months, 36 months. So when we don't use the funds in 1 year, we then have to show them in the following year. So you see the revenue going up for that in the state and federal areas. And then in the other local revenue sources, we increased our projections for our Civic Center rentals and then also for donations. This is our unrestricted and restricted. It should say expenditures up at the top. I wish it was our revenues because they're higher dollar amounts, but it's actually our expenditures. And you can see there the biggest area in blue is our salary and benefits. As Kim mentioned previously, we've added in the increases to salary as well as the increases to health insurance. And then in our books and supplies, that goes back to what I mentioned on the previous slide. We had unused grants. So we are now, as we budget the revenue, we also budget the expenditures related to those grants, and that's part of the increase to books and supplies. Services and operating, we saw a slight increase in transportation, legal, also contracted services. And again, that's due to the grants and the special ed vacancies. And finally, in all other expenditures, that increase, check my notes. So that was, we increased equipment using grant funds, tuition costs for special ed increased, as well as the transfers to the child development and cafeteria fund increased, and that's due to the increased costs in salary and benefits. Right, that takes us to our multi-year projection. We have the 23-24 numbers there as a reference, but in the actual first interim budget, we only have 24-25 through 26-27. And when we bring this back, this MYP back to you at second interim, we will have gone through all the numbers in 24-25, looking for any savings. So we're hoping that that bottom number at the end, which has which we're now down to 3% in 26-27. We're hoping that at second interim, we can maybe find some ways to find some savings and maybe get that number up a little bit. Kim's going to come and talk to you about potential reductions that we're going to need to take in order to meet that 3%.
Oops. You've seen this slide. This was from the AB 1200, the recommended cuts in 25-26. So this was looking at when we did our negotiations, the county requires us to do something called an AB 1200, which includes the negotiations in our budget so we can see the impact of that. The county had said to us that it looks like we had a $10 million shortfall in 25-26. The way to address that unbalanced scale is either you receive more revenue or you take some cuts in your expenditures or you do both. We are already making strides towards improving this picture. As you know, we've been bringing these budget sustainability reports where we are very clearly showing all the different areas that we are looking at in our budget, and we're trying to find ways to have savings now as we go forward. So that will help us in the out years. So I just have a link here so people can go and look at those. Let me go back for a second. Oh, too far back. Hang on. So when we're looking at this, one of the things that we talked about was we tend to have a savings in special ed by the time we get to the end of the year. That's usually about $2 million. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's closer to 3 million. But we believe that this is from adopted budget to the end of the year. It's usually about a $2 million decline in the cost, and which is important because that is a contribution from the general fund that if that goes down, then that means that's less we're having to pull from the general fund as well. So we also talked about transportation and that we thought there would be about $1 million savings there. And we also talked about utility savings. So we have already incorporated some of those savings and we have put them in our budget for the out years. So we took the $2 million in contribution reduction in 25-26 for special ed. We added the transportation $1 million decrease, and we also took utilities decrease. So that's in our multi-year projections. But what I want to tell you is right now sitting in our budget for the current year, we actually have an increase in special ed. And I'm going to show you what that means. So we have some growth in special education that some of it is, we believe is a true growth, and some of it is a correction that we're going to be making due to vacancies. Okay. So we've got a couple items in there that we really do feel like we have had some growth. One of the biggest ones is the non-public school placement. To kind of explain what that is when we have students who need to go to another site that's a non-public school. Sometimes they're in another state to really make sure that these students are taken care of for their particular special ed need. Those are very costly institutions. Right now, we have seen an increase in those costs. We've seen more students that are going to non-public school placement. So we really are keeping an eye on that. So that is a growth. And then we have some other things in there that are adding up to about $1 million increase right now in our current budget. But we also have in our current budget some things that need to be corrected. So we have some vacancies that need to be fixed. Like if we had some hiring, we have to reduce the vacancies and do that kind of thing. So there's a little bit of an adjustment that's happening there that will correct the budget. And that's about $1.5 million that we will be fixing now and through to second interim. So currently in our budget, then we've got about a $2.5 million increase to special ed, of which we only think that $1 million is actually probably true. I just wanted to make sure you understood that. Now, the cuts. So I had shown you that scale of the $10 million in 25-26 and $8 million in 26-27. That was what was projected in the AB 1200 that the county had told us that that's what that looked like. We have made so many good improvements already, even at first interim, that we're seeing those numbers coming down, and we will continue to work on those to bring them down. But one thing that is driving the number up in 25-26 is that we have a one-time learning recovery emergency grant fund that technically it will go, it's supposed to expire in 2028, but we are actually using it up this year for a lot of different reasons. But that one is $5.65 million, that when that money goes away, it's gone. So then the other cuts are $4 million in 25-26 and $4.22 million in 26-27. As Lacey said, we're going to be looking at ways to continue to find savings and improve those numbers. And in the next couple weeks, all of our leadership is going to be looking at ways to address the potential cuts and come up with some recommendations for the board. And that's it.
Any requests? Oh, we have a request to speak on this. Thank you.
Yes, we have one public commenter, Hosby Galindo. Oh, okay. Thank you.
So that's it. Okay. Board members, comments or questions? Presentation. Ms. Hornet, thank you. Mr. Banning, you have a question, comment? Okay, so thank you for the presentation. I just do have one comment, and I'm liking that we continue to find this is so important as we're getting closer to, and really pointing out that it's projecting. We're ahead of some budget processes, so it's not really going to be fully informed. So we're projecting on that, and it will be informed in those processes. I think we need to keep saying that when we say, well, you said that, and so, but also keep reminding folks that we are ahead of some other systems that inform our system. So that's I really appreciate that being elevated today. I wanted to make clarification. I'm not sure what slide it is. I think it's the revenue slide where it was an increase in the revenue because we had unspent dollars, right? So that's not new revenue in the next year, right?
Correct.
Because that it seems like it is.
Go ahead.
When it's stated the way it is.
Yeah, so go back to, I think, two more. So the Department of Education requires to account for various buckets of money that we receive different ways.
Mhm.
So each bucket of money is assigned a resource. And that resource, we either account for it that it has an ending fund balance, or we account for it in a way that's called it has unearned revenue. So at the end of 23-24, for any resource that the state deems to be unearned revenue, we have to remove the revenue for that grant. So for those resources, the revenue and the expenditures have to net to zero. So that's why you see the revenue increasing as well as the expenditures increasing for those specific resources. So it's not all resources. It's a lot of more of the federal money, the federal dollars.
Right. So I just think that's an important piece, particularly when we're going in to make sure it's clear on what it is. And that because if we say we have an 18-month grant, and I understand where it needs to zero and net out. So when you still have 18 months on a grant, what are the services going to be provided? So just adding a little bit more clarity on what that is, you know, and just what you said, but in layman's terms, we're like, what does that mean? So, just to be clear, because people may say, oh, we've got this much money, but we also know that's part of an 18-month grant or some ongoing things that we want to do. So I just wanted to point that out so that there's no misunderstanding on that part. Yep. Any comments? No additional comments? Okay, so this is truly an action item. I'm just saying, Doctor. So board members, may I have a motion for approval?
I move that we approve the first interim budget report.
I second.
Been motion second. All in favor, please raise your hands and say aye.
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 Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. Next, we'll move to H4. Approval of agreement with Westmont College for Work Study Program. Who's coming there? Dr. Sheffield.
Good evening again, Board President. Very happy to be here and see you on your last meeting. I'm here to present a board action item. We would like to go into a memorandum of understanding with Westmont College. It is our hope to partner with them for their work study program that will allow students to work for the program and work within our AOK as well as our PEAK program. Westmont Colleges uses the federal work study program that will pay for a portion of the staff's hourly wages based on their work study awarded amount. So this partnership would allow us to have highly qualified tutors and workers in our campuses, and also provide an opportunity for us to have a fiscal savings. And so with that being said, I would ask for your approval for this MOU.
Thank you. No public comment. Any comments or questions, board members? Hearing none, may I have a motion for approval?
I move to approve the agreement with Westmont College for Work Study Program.
I second.
Been motion second. All in favor, please raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Dr. Sheffield. Are you the next one too?
I am the next one. The next presentation I would like to speak to is the approval of the contract with the artist in residence, Juan Zaragoza, and Alta Vista Alternative High School, grades 7 through 12. And the high school would like to partner with Juan Zaragoza to teach traditional son and cajunta music classes to all the students. And so with this, they will work with 75 students, grades 7 through 12th grade, using his expertise in a variety of opportunities, traditional mariachi, cajunto, I'm really attacking these names, norteño music, and they'll work with the students twice a week for 4 hours. I know I ripped up those words. Forgive me. The plan is to work with the students from January through June. And I would like to ask for the opportunity for Alta Vista Alternative High School to work with this group.
Great. No public comment. Board members' comments or questions? Ms. Munoz?
I think it's a wonderful opportunity for our students. Thank you.
May I have a motion for approval?
I will move to approve the contract with the artist in residence, Juan Zaragoza, for the Alta Vista Alternative High School, grades 7 to 12.
I second.
Been motion is second. All in favor, please raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sheffield. Okay, you're just rolling out tonight. Okay. So next one. H6.
I am very excited and happy to have the opportunity to bring this to the board and have your approval on the bundle for after-school enrichment programs. Santa Barbara Unified offers a wide variety of programs within our AOK program, but we would like to bring the opportunity to engage in enrichment opportunities to provide support and enrichment to students not only in the AOK program, but to expand that to all of our school sites so they have the opportunity to have enrichment in a variety of key areas. We have worked with the school principals as well as coordinated with PTA and PTO groups to identify a wide variety of the programs that I'm bringing to you this evening, and really looking forward to having this range and then provide some additional after-school care for our parents. We have begun the pre-registration in the hopes to get this approved this evening, and then with plans to begin the after-school enrichment in January of 2025. Our hope is to have these programs. We start off with these programs. They'll last between 10 and 15 weeks. We'll do a first round, and then we'll move into a second round for the spring, hoping that our schools will get different rotations each time. We're looking at this at just fostering more inclusive and engaging after-school experiences for our students. And I would love for the opportunity to have this approved by the board.
Thank you, Dr. Sheffield. We do have a request to speak on this item.
Yes, we have one. Sharon Jagotka. Welcome.
Hi. Do I need to push something?
Is the light on?
It's green.
You're good.
Okay. Okay, we are aware that our children are experiencing stress, depression, risk of suicide, self-harm, and isolation. With the passing of the enrichment bundle, you have allowed yoga and Kind Mind, I believe, possibly, that was on the list, to be allowed on our elementary school campuses. Religion is not allowed, yet you have allowed these two programs, yoga and Kind Mind. They are steeped in Hinduism and Buddhism. Have you done your research? Have you read about that? They are being taught a false religion, but yet Bible scripture cannot be spoken or shared with our children. The after-school program, the Good News Club, teaches children to love their neighbors, to be compassionate to others. The Bible, which is God's word, it's truth. It gives us joy, peace, love, and so much more. Psalm 23, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. I love this scripture. As I read it to my brother, it gave him strength as he entered into the kingdom of God. As a young girl growing up here in Santa Barbara, I'm of Filipino and Mexican ancestry, and it was difficult for me as a young girl growing up in the 70s, playing on an all-white, very wealthy volleyball team. But as growing up, my mom gave me the Bible scripture, Philippians 4:13, and it gave me strength and confidence. And this is it right here. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that scripture had carried me through very dark times when I was in high school. So why is the Good News Club not considered to be part of the bundle? This is unfair, and it illustrates your viewpoint discriminations towards the Good News Club. The bundle will only make our application process even more difficult. Currently, Miss Curry at Washington School did approve us, but she made it very, very difficult for us. We've been approved from 3:30 to 5 o'clock. And I sent an email, but I didn't receive a response from you, Ms. Maldonado, and it wasn't addressed in my email back from Ms. Sheffield. And the first school bell is dismissed at 2:37. For the next 53 minutes, what are these children going to do? Who's going to take care of them? The last school bell is at 3:04. So from 3:04 to 3:30, who's going to watch these children? Or from 2:37, who's going to watch them? We're set up for failure. She has already set us up for failure. It's unfair. And I'm here tonight just to express that to you. And this has been going on for a very, very long time. And that's why I've been here now these last couple board meetings, is to talk to you about this, because I feel like I have been ignored for the last
Thank you.
several years.
Thank you for your public comment. That's the only public comment.
Board members, any comments or questions? Dr. Bill?
I'm happy to see this after-school bundle presented to us. I'll make one comment. I do not appreciate the words false religion. I'm a practicing Hindu. I went to Catholic school as a child. I'm a Hindu. My best friend in high school was Muslim. I feel that religions should be accepting of each other, and using the word false religion is an extremely unchristian word. So please do not use those words. Extremely offended. Okay? Yoga is a Hindu practice, but it is not practiced in the school as a religious exercise. There's no chanting. There's nothing like that. So I think there needs to be understanding of what is being taught to the students in school and the fact that lots of practices have religious roots, but we are not practicing them as religious practices in the schools. Okay. The question I have for you, Dr. Sheffield, is do these classes, are the students able to attend these classes most of the afternoons after school? Is there enough coverage that they have enrichment and that parents have, to some degree, enrichment with childcare?
So there are a variety of different programs. There are programs that are offered every day. There are programs that are two times a week. There are some programs that are 1 day a week. So we did offer the opportunity for students to sign up for all the programs that they would like to sign up for. Does it cover the breadth of every day? I can't speak to every student, every school, and if they request it to participate. I do have our numbers. Right now, it looks like all students that signed up have that opportunity to participate.
And is the AA program something that they will have as an alternative if on the days in which there's no particular class or program?
If they have applied, we've been increasing our numbers in the AOK program as we speak. So those numbers have been increasing regularly. So if they have applied, we do everything we can to make sure we have the staff to accommodate our students.
Thank you for answering.
Any additional, Ms. Munoz?
Yes, I first of all want to express my appreciation to all that have worked on, refining this in terms of the after-school programs and in terms of, understanding like the funding, how these programs were chosen and such to offer to our students. I think the variety is excellent, including social emotional learning, theater, music, yoga. I certainly support Dr. Beal in her comments regarding yoga, as as she stated, and what is offered to our students and such in a public school setting. And also, the chess, the biology. I love the Jardín Spanish immersion program. And I plan to hopefully, I don't know that I could hit them all, but I want to certainly visit and see how their students are appreciating the wide variety that's offered to them.
Additional comments, Mr. Escobedo? Okay, Mr. Blaney?
On a slightly different note, I just want to acknowledge that this process has taken a little longer than we expected it to, and it has yielded some very deep discussion about processes for extracurricular activities and all those type of things that I think has helped us come to a better understanding of why things are the way they are, and that there had been some cases where policies were inadvertently not being followed, and the delay and the care that has been taken on this whole thing has allowed us to look at a much broader perspective of how they're being done. And I want to say I thank you for the time and energy that comes from the additional work that came from questions by the board about why. And I think in the end, we have come to a place of being much stronger in terms of these after-school programs. Thank you.
Any additional comments or questions from the board? May I have a motion for approval?
I will move to approve the contract bundle for after-school enrichment programs.
I'll second the motion.
Been motion second. All in favor, please raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Dr. Sheffield.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll move to H7, approval of the 2024-25 Williams Review, Santa Barbara County Education Office. Okay.
And
Dr.
so
Sheffield.
the last action item that I have for you is in regards to the Williams Review. Each year, we are reviewed by the Santa Barbara County Education Office, and they identify certain schools that they will visit. For the 2024 visit, they visited Cleveland Elementary School, Goleta Valley Junior High School, La Cumbre Junior High, La Cumbre Junior High, Monroe Elementary, Santa Barbara High School, and Santa Barbara Junior High. They are there to identify 3 key areas in their visit. Number 1, they determine if students have sufficient standards-aligned instructional material in the 4 core areas. That's English language arts, mathematics, history, social studies, science, and laboratory science materials in grades 9 through 12. And appropriate in world languages and health. Number 2, they are looking to determine if any facility condition that possesses an emergency or urgent threat to the health or safety of pupils or staff. And number 3, they're looking to determine if the school has provided accurate data in the annual school accountability report card related to sufficiency of materials, safety, cleanliness, and adequacy of school facilities, including good repair. So you have attached a report from the Santa Barbara County Office of Education that identifies that they didn't have any distinct findings and how we're in good standing in regards to our facilities. I would like to ask for you to approve this report.
Seeing no requests from the public, board members, any comments or questions regarding this report? Okay, thank you, Dr. Sheffield. It's good to hear that there were no findings. May I have a motion for approval?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2024-25 Williams Review by the Santa Barbara County Ed Office.
I second the motion to approve the Williams Review.
Motion second. All in favor, please raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, H8.
Wow, good job, Dr. Sheffield. Good evening, Board President Sims Moten. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Maldonado. I want to present to you the human resources recommendations for December. And just to highlight, we have a few promotions on there that I wanted to point your attention to. Narita Barrios Rodriguez, Emmanuel Saavedra, and Lupe Sarata. Congratulations to them. I also have, quickly, again, as usual, I'd like to point out the really important service that many of our classified employees provide to our families and students, and that is our language service of being bilingual and providing that support in the workplace. Naira Abrego, Lucia Alejos Plancarte, Patricia Coronado, Viviana Keneally, Samantha Mendiola, Juan Zarate Jr., and Wendy Zarate Sagala. And lastly, I wanted to say what's not on here, but will be coming out of our computer system is the name of Wendy Sims Moten. And I would like to just thank you for your service publicly here. Very grateful to have worked with you, and it's a huge loss to our district. The 2 luckiest people in this room are me and Sandra, because we got to work with you the longest. With that, I turn this over to you for the last time to approve the human resources recommendations.
Right. Well, thank you, Dr. Becchio. Yeah, I feel like I'm on a 8-hour work shift, right? We're all working hard to do good things. So thank you. I've all seen this report improve and really recognize what's going on. We've been able to read it. So thank you so much. And always for Sandra's like, okay, girl, I'm sorry, it's 2:00. I haven't put my lunch order in. So, just thank you just for this wonderful support. So yeah, that you're still saying thank you after 8 years. I just really do appreciate that. So any requests to speak on this item? Hearing none, board members, do you have any comments or questions? Hearing none, may I have a motion for approval?
I move to approve the HR report for this month.
I second the motion.
Been motion second. All in favor, please raise your hands and say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you, Dr. Vecchio. Move to H9. Woo! Approval of the agreements with the city of Santa Barbara. Who's doing that one? Yay! Doctor, everybody's a doctor. It's after 8. Claim the title.
After about a year.
Yay!
All right. It is my privilege and honor to bring forth the MOU that we have finally ironed out all the kinks for now.
Yep.
Between our partnership with the city and district. This is an overarching MOU. As you may recall, we moved to trying to have one MOU with every organization or agency and not have 30 different MOUs. So this is that one over-encompassing one. On tonight's agenda, you also have an invoice for crossing guards because in the meantime, while we were working on finalizing this, they billed us for the crossing guard services, a half up front at the beginning of the year, and now they're billing for the separate half. Those services, though, are represented in this MOU moving forward. So it is my privilege to bring this for vote. We worked very collaboratively with the city around language services and how we really do own our families and serve them for our 180 days and their 365.
All right. Thank you. No request to speak on this item. Board members with comments or questions? Other than I'd like to say thank you for that whole, yeah, okay.
Thank you, Kim, as we co-lead efforts.
Yeah.
It was the park rangers
Oh.
that you have the separate invoice for that's attached to this, not crossing guards. Thank you, Kim.
Okay, great. Thank you on that. With that, Dr. Okay,
Doctor.
you're Doctor.
What's up?
We roll out.
Are we still opening Lacumba Junior High up on the weekends?
I'm going to yield to my other co-leader, Steve Vance, around La Cumbra being opened on the weekend still. That is a yes. He's shaking his head yes.
All right.
Hardy.
And Hardy.
He's coming to the mic to elaborate.
Harding is open during the week. La Cumbre is open on Saturdays, and Santa Barbara's high school's auditorium, or not auditorium, if only, their track is open on Sundays. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
With that, any additional comments or questions? If not, may I have a motion for approval?
I will move to approve the agreements with the city of Santa Barbara for the 3-year period, 24-25, 25-26, 26-27 school years, and the Park Rangers Services Agreement for quarters 3 and 4.
I second.
Been motion second. All in favor, please raise your hands and say aye.
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 Right. Next, we'll move to H10, approval of the EMCOR proposal to replace broken piping at McKinley. Mr. Jimenez. Oh,
Good evening, board. Sorry, is it on?
yeah. Is it green light?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Good evening, board president Sims Moten, board members, superintendent Dr. Malano. I'm presenting information for you this evening on the McKinley Elementary Storm Project. Currently at McKinney School, there's several storm drains on the playground where the water funnels down to our corrugated storm drain pipe. The pipe that has deteriorated underground is now separated with some of the piping exposed above ground. During the rainy seasons, water flows out of the broken exposed pipe, which caused mud from the hillside to covers the walking path. The mini mudslide causes families to avoid the walkway and uses Cliff Drive to get to McKinley School, which is an unsafe path due to high traffic. Santa Barbara Unified School District has been working closely with the city of Santa Barbara to help maintain the hillside by planting some shrubs and plants along the way. The district is also focusing on another McKinley hillside project in order to stop erosion from expanding. We're working with civil engineers and other entities on how to resolve this. We'll bring this matter to the board at a later time. This evening, the Maintenance and Operation Department is seeking board approval to have MCOR replace the storm drain piping at McKinley Elementary School.
Board members, any comments or questions? Ms. Munoz?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the pictures and certainly stress the safety and such for our students in that neighborhood. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Hearing no additional comments or questions, may I have a motion for approval?
I move to approve the proposal of MCOR to replace broken piping at McKinley Elementary School.
I second the motion to replace the broken piping.
Been motion second. All in favor, please raise your hands and say aye.
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 The last item.
Thank you.
All right. So we have the coming events you can see there as December 13th is a minimum day, and also your reorganization day, elementary schools only. And then we have your special board meeting for reorganization. Good luck and well with that. And then we have winter recess of December 16th through January 3rd. And then January, Happy New Year's, and regular board meeting on January 14th. And then you also can look on through the governance panel, there any future coming events or future agenda items that you have there. So yeah, so the next meeting, we'll move to annual organization Fridays, December 13th, 2024. Woo, it's 20 minutes to the hour of 9, December 10th, 2024 that we got out. And so I just want to thank you so much for all the comments and the expressions of the work that has come here and the work that has been here. And I have great hope for this board. We're going to continue on and carry on. And it's been such great to see seeds that were planted. It started in 2016 and to see them come to fruition. And that's because of the hard work that we do at work, doing the hard work. So we're working hard to do the hard work. So I just want to tell you how excited I am to have been part of this board and been here for a long time. And certainly all the BAs and the leadership and superintendent, 2020, I don't even have to say. Just in terms of that, but thank you for all the work and being brave and courageous for the work to make this a better district for our students and for those who work and also live here. I'm also proud of the things that we did to move forward. We're planting seeds about housing. We're planting seeds about childcare. We're planting all those seeds, and so they will come to fruition with good hard work and stick it to itness. And so just appreciate everything that is done. So I would be remiss in not saying this song that I want to sing, but it's funny in the way that I like Carol Burnett, and she would always close her song with a little ear shake like she's done for the last thing. And so I had to kind of, massage it because we don't always just sing a song and laugh or two. So I said, I'm so glad we had this time together just to laugh, public comment, present, take action, and sing a song. And before you know it, comes the time to say so long. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be here. Yes, yes. So noted. It's done.